Colorado at 8,000 feet above sea level. And the growing season started on June 1, and it promptly ended on September 1. You know, 3 months, and it wouldn't be unusual to have a cold snap in there, snow, or below freezing weather come through, you know, a cold front move down, wipe out your garden sometime in there. So it became really important for us to grow at this high altitude garden and to protect and to start earlier in the season and continue later in the season and protect against those odd weather patterns that come in the middle of summer. So one option are cold frames, and I want to talk to you about another option called 4-season harvest. I want to talk to you about all-season greenhouses, and finally a little bit about the Chinese greenhouse. Now, I'm giving a talk later in the day that is all about season extension, so I won't say too much right now. But cold frames are an excellent way to start early and to end late. Generally, you're going to be growing vegetables that don't grow very high, lettuce, spinach, things that, you know, don't grow terribly high, because most of our cold frames aren't very deep. They are not terribly deep. And these cold-footed vegetables, or cold weather vegetables, can handle the cold. So you can start a month or two, maybe even 2.5 months earlier, sowing the seeds for lettuce and spinach and chard and stuff like that, plants like that. And by the time April comes around, May comes around, you're already harvesting from your garden. So it's a neat technique. We use this, something very similar to this, to add another month or two at the end of our season in Missouri right now. You can get very creative with your cold frame and your raised beds. This is a really neat solution. I would worry about this in a high wind area. I would worry about those windows staying up like that. I think I'd want to make something a bit more secure than just a stake in the ground. If you have wind, I'd be a little concerned about this if you were in an area with hail. But it's a great way to extend the season. There are great ways to extend the season. Now, another technique that is perfectly doable in an urban or a suburban environment is this technique that Elliot Coleman has pioneered in our country. Elliot's out of Maine, and really done a tremendous service to gardeners. He's come up with this idea called 4-season harvest. It's an idea that he brought over from Europe. The history is a little bit complex, but you read his books, he'll explain. Basically, it's growing in a hoop house, but your garden beds, either a raised bed or just garden, you know, at soil level, those are covered by mini hoops. So really, you're growing in a hoop house within a hoop house. And what this does is it has the effect of moving you 2 hardiness zones to the south. So you can grow all year round, and we've done this for many years. We grow cold weather vegetables all year round, through the dead of winter, through the coldest snows. These vegetables will stay, these cold weather vegetables will stay healthy. Now, grab Elliot Coleman's book, because he actually has tested this so much that he can tell you what varieties of spinach do better than others. For example, there's a space variety. Anybody ever planted that space variety spinach? It does really, really well. That's all we plant in ours. And it does extremely well. And so he'll tell you the types of lettuce and chive and, you know, various things, the varieties that will work best. It's probably even online. Most everything is these days. But this works really, really well. We've used it for a number of years in Missouri, and it's the greatest thing in the world to wander, you know, to trudge through a foot of snow to your warm greenhouse, your warm hoop house, pull back the cover, cut some lettuce and some bok choy and spinach and chard, and take it inside and have fresh vegetables in the dead of winter. Really neat technique. So you could build a small hoop house and put little hoop houses over your garden. Great way to grow year round. Now, if you're interested in growing warm weather vegetables, yes, question.
How do you use that in the summer?
Now, what we did in the summer is we had plastic over ours, and we just pulled it back. We had plastic attached with wheel wire. You know what wiggle wire is? It's got that little channel and then a stainless steel wire that clamps the plastic in. So what we did is we pulled it off. We also have tried leaving that on and put shade cloth, and it works too. And then we ventilate it with some solar fans. Okay, so yeah, overheating is a real issue in any greenhouse. Now, if you're like me and you want to grow tomatoes year-round or beans, there are other options. And one of them is called an all-season or a four-season greenhouse. And there's a book on it, a brand new book called The Year-Round Greenhouse by Lindsay Schiller. Neat book. I read it over Christmas break. I couldn't put it down. I took it to Florida with me and just sat there and just read it from cover to cover. The all-season greenhouses are being used throughout the country. The one thing that I found about the all-season greenhouses is they always require some supplemental heat. Almost always require some kind of backup heat because they don't quite have enough potential to get you through the coldest winters. You might need 10 days of heating or 30 days of heating. And that's something I like to get away from personally. I don't want a propane heater. I don't want a rocket stove in my greenhouse that I have to either pay for fuel or 10. So that's when I stumbled, a couple years ago, I met a gentleman from China. He is Chinese. He was an agricultural extension agent for the University of Missouri. Now he's at North Carolina State Technical University, and his name is Sanjun Gu, and he introduced me to this technology that's being used has been used since the mid-'80s in China, and we call it the Chinese greenhouse. It is an earth-sheltered greenhouse that is designed to allow you to grow warm weather vegetables year-round without supplemental heat. Okay, and so I'll be talking about that. This is my 5-second commercial. You just can't escape commercials, can you guys? I'm not doing any drug commercials today, okay? Wait, the drug companies seem like they have just come out with this plethora of new drugs. Every commercial is a brand new drug. Isn't it crazy? And where do they come up with these names? Lenexa, Truvia, Trulia. They sit around and drink beer and say, I don't know, let's call it that. Or they take the initials of all the people in the room. Okay, your T, your name starts with R, and yours starts with a U. Okay, there's the first part of that word. What do we have over here? X, okay, we'll call it Truxia. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress. So anyway, come see me this afternoon if you want to learn more about the Chinese greenhouse and more about season extension. That's what I'm going to be focusing on, tell you a lot more about this. And I'm also, we're building one of these right now. We've taken down our four-season greenhouse and are building an earth-sheltered Chinese greenhouse right now and incorporating a lot of ideas that if we do need supplemental heat, we'll have it from solar. So we don't have to install a propane heater of any sort. So we've got I'll be talking about some really interesting ideas on short-term and long-term heat banking, how you can store solar energy in the short term to heat a greenhouse for those really cold days, and how you can long-term heat bank. Radical idea of saving summer heat for winter use. Pretty cool stuff, really cool stuff. And I wrote a book on Chinese greenhouses too that I have available here if you're interested.
To learn more, pick up a copy of Dan Cheris's books, Survive in Style, Living Comfortably Off-Grid, The Scoop on Poop, and Chinese Greenhouse at evergreeninstitute.org.